Welcome to Balanced Life with Debbie Carlin Boyle. Conversations connecting to a healthier you. The show that gives you all the latest and greatest health and wellness information to inspire you to live a life of balance and joy. Debbie Carlin Boyle is a health and nutrition coach, personal trainer, and fitness instructor who helps her clients live in balance with everything that feeds us, in addition to the food on our plate. Please welcome your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle.
Hi, good afternoon. Happy October, my favorite month of the year. I love fall. I love the weather. I'm here in beautiful downtown Burbank, sunny California, and it's one of those beautiful fall crisp days. I just love it. And I welcome you to my show. You have reached me, Balanced Life, with your host, Debbie Carlin Boyle. That's me. Conversations that hopefully, pretty sure they do, connect to a healthier you. And one of the things that sets me aside from a lot of the podcasts that are out there is that I do a live show, which means that you can become part of that conversation too. So if you're listening live, if you're watching live, or on my YouTube channel right now, Balanced Life with Debbie Carlin Boyle, go there and you will be able to see myself and my guest in just a second here. And you can chime in and give us a call if you want to become part of the conversation. The numbers here, if you're not driving, is area code 323-524-2599. Once again, 323-524-2599. So don't hesitate. Give us a call. This is a great conversation today. If you're a woman of any age, this is going to resonate with you. And I'm going to get into the details of what we're talking about in just a few minutes here. But it really is a great subject that affects all of us, women and men alike. But, you know, I mostly work with women, and I know this is a big issue for everybody. The other thing is, if you want to get a hold after the fact, you can go to the comment section of my Instagram, Balanced Life by Debbie, DEBI, or my Facebook page, Balanced Life by Debbie, DEBI, or my YouTube channel. Once again, go to the comment section, ask a question, make a comment, and we'll get a hold of you after the fact, myself or my guest, depending on what your comment or question is. If it's during the show and you don't want to call in, or you can't call in because maybe you're at work listening, then go ahead and make a comment, ask a question, and I check that periodically throughout the show and during the one break that we're going to have, and we can answer it and talk to you on the air that way if you don't want to give us a call. But we'd love to hear from you. So in the meantime, I want to tell you a little bit about myself. I am a personal trainer, a fitness instructor, and a health and nutrition coach. So what does a coach do? So I help people get in alignment with everything that feeds us, like we said at the top of the show, in addition to the food on our plate. So those are things that come together. If you know anything about the blue zones, you know there's certain things in life that have to come together and become a full circle moment for you and your longevity and your health. And my goal is to help you create longevity with quality. And in doing so, you achieve a happier, more full life because you're not worried about the things that could be bringing us down. And so anything on that wheel of sort of, happiness, all those little spikes that need to come together, your environment, your career, your creativity, your social life, all those things that come together. If anything's a little bit out of balance, I try to help you get back there by coaching you through it. And I've said this over and over, but even the greatest, all the GOATs in the world work with coaches because they can always learn something new that can take them to a level up and get a little bit stronger, a little bit better, a little bit more knowledgeable about how to be sustainable in the lifestyle that they deserve and they want. So to get a hold of me, you should go to my website, which is, again, Balanced Life by Debbie, DEBI.com. And there you're going to see get a consultation with me. And if you click on that, we're going to ask you a few questions, and then you get a calendar pops up, and we're going to set a time to talk to me. And I give you a free 30-minute conversation so we can hear what's going on with you. And in that 30 minutes, you'd be surprised all the little things, all the little hacks that I can give you in the health and nutrition space. So anything you might have, whether it's in the fitness field, the health and nutrition field, self-care field, that is where my expertise is and my passion is, and that's where I love to help people. So even just go in and say hi, and I'll say hi back if that's all you want to say. So now, today's show is something, like I said earlier, I think it will resonate with just about all of you that are listening. So sit back. I'm going to give a great introduction to our distinguished guest right now. I have a question for you. Do you love your body? Studies have found that 69 to 84% of women experience body dissatisfaction. Has the creator of Love Your Body, Love Yourself, Marla Mervis-Hartmann, helps women access their yes exactly to that question. After experiencing years of dysfunction in relation to food, exercise, and body confidence, Marla transformed her life through the radical act of self-compassion and by friending herself. She has since used her experiences to help empower women as they choose appreciation for their bodies, honor themselves through nourishing lifestyle choices, and cultivate confidence along the way. Marla works at an eating disorder recovery center, sharing body love, Reiki circles, and known as the leading body image expert and Reiki master at Journey Malibu, a drug and alcohol rehabilitation center. Most recently, she has been featured at TEDx Salinas. Her dedication to women's studies has had several focuses, including women's sexual wellness, postpartum care, pelvic floor support, Tantra and yoga instruction, massage therapy, and lifestyle coaching through Love Your Body, Love Yourself. Marla's mission is to inspire women to feel good about themselves as they pursue the lives they desire. And Marla's first book, Befriend Yourself, is out now as of October 1st. So without further ado, will you please welcome my guest, Marla Mervis-Hartmann, to the show. Here's your applause. Welcome.
Oh.
Hi, Marla.
Hi, how wonderful. I'm so happy to be here.
Oh, I'm happy to have you. I should say aloha.
Yes, aloha, everyone.
You're in beautiful Maui, Hawaii. Lucky you. Lucky you. That's my go-to happy place. So I'm
Is it?
envious. Yeah.
It's a good place.
I know too well. And what I want to do is get to kind of how you ended up there. So we're going to go to your beginnings to start. So what I want to hear is where you grew up, about your childhood, because I know you grew up in a family that, you know, was very nurturing and very loving. So, you know, a lot of times I've had people on the show who didn't grow up that way and did have trouble with eating disorders and body dysfunction, but that's not the case for you. So I want to hear your story from the beginning and how you weaved yourself and ended up in Maui with your practice.
Yeah.
So,
well, that's a long story, but I will share with you some of the most important things about my journey and healing my relationship with my body and my food. So I did grow up in a family that was very supportive, very loving, not a whole lot of diet culture stuff going on there. My mom ate, there wasn't any overemphasis on the body and it looking a certain way or being a certain way. But the one thing that I got from a very young age was comments about my body. I was a very curvy little girl. And so adults,
what kind of comments? What would they say?
Yeah. Adults, older kids would say, oh, sexy little thing, or you're so curvy, and it gave me this experience of like,
Was this before or after or during puberty that it started?
before.
Whoa.
This
Wow.
is way before and then during puberty. But at a young age, you're kind of like just running around having fun, and all of a sudden you're getting this idea that your body matters, right? I remember when it clicked. I remember that moment where I had that feeling of like, oh, I better not eat this because this could change this could change the validation that I got around my body.
Of course.
And
Yeah.
so something clicked in that moment. And so, fast forward, being a woman in this lifetime in diet culture, right? Being someone who was an actor and an athlete, there was a lot of overemphasis on what my body looked like. And then what I ended up doing is I ended up using food and using dieting as a way to cope. I
Mm-hmm.
coped with my emotions. I coped with life through control of my food, control of my body, whether that was binge eating or restricting. So there was a lot of emotional eating going on, a lot of eat that food, better exercise it off. Maybe get that perfect food, right? Because so I want my body to be this perfect weight. I had the idea that the only issue that I really had in life was that my body wasn't the weight that I wanted it to be, and I couldn't control my food.
I know
So,
this very well.
yes.
It is our culture that we want to look a certain. It's even worse now with social media and all the ways to see what's out there. But even growing up for me, who is in my very late 60s, the pressure to be thin, and you're not a whole complete person unless you looked a certain way, people wouldn't validate you. You would be invisible, let's say. People wouldn't know you exist, and this was the one way you felt like you could get attention. I know it too well that I obsessed about how to make sure this, because we have control technically over that. We think we do, at least.
You think we do?
So I can relate. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but I can relate to that same feeling. And that's why I was saying earlier, I think a lot of women go through this at an early age, that you feel you are defined by how you look.
Yeah, and it's not just some idea. It's actually true. Like that is what we get from diet culture. We're not
Yes,
making this up. If you're in a thinner body, you often get more validation, which is what is kind of messed up with society,
I
and what
agree.
people like me and a lot of people who are fighting back against that, um, on the other extreme, are just saying we need to encourage all bodies. We need to encourage health at all bodies, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that being thin doesn't mean that you're healthy. When I was
No,
at my thinnest, I was probably the most unhealthy I had ever
you
been.
were depriving yourself of the nutrients your body probably needed, and
Oh, absolutely.
that's
Absolutely.
where it
And just
should start.
mentally, right? Like our health is not just our body. Our health is how we're thinking, how we're feeling, how we're dealing with our emotions. And so, I mean, just go to the story, just so I can. I mean, I'm continually in the story, right? We're
Yeah.
always in our body.
Every day
We're always
is
learning how to
something.
take care of
Yeah.
ourselves, and we're learning how to care for ourselves. But I remember having one of those major dark nights of the soul, which I had often, but this one was like,
How old were you at this point? And
I was in my 20s. I was in my New York City apartment, and I had
did you
eaten.
grow up in New York? Did you say?
No,
No.
no, I didn't. I grew up outside of Pittsburgh,
Oh,
and
okay.
I was just got back from working at the Hard Rock Cafe and eating
Oh,
just
fun.
so much sweets and cake
Did they
and I,
give you free meals if you worked there at the Hard Rock Cafe?
yeah,
They
yeah,
did. Okay, so that didn't help to start.
that didn't help.
Yeah.
And so I get home and I'm sick and I'm lying in bed and I'm thinking, this is my life. this is my life. This is how it will always be. I will never know how to control my food. I will never know what to do. And I gathered up all the gusto that I could, and I said, I'm going to do it. I'm going to get down to the weight that I want to be, and I'm going to control this. And I did, Debbie. I went into overdrive, and on that one day at the gym where I step on the scale and there was the magic number.
Oh, yeah.
And I literally looked at that number and I burst out crying. I mean, you would have thought that someone died the way I was acting. I'm kind of dramatic anyways,
well,
but
you put a lot of effort to getting to that number. So you were congratulating yourself, but also, you're going to get validation and you're.
No. That's not what happened at all.
Oh, okay. No. Oh, you were sad about it.
I was miserable.
Oh,
I was the most miserable I had ever been in my entire life.
Okay.
I was completely, my body felt awful. My life around me was small. Nothing was good. And it was then that I realized, oh, I don't have a food issue.
Gotcha.
I have a major issue that has nothing to do with my body and my food.
Right.
So it was then that started my journey, where then I started looking at my food. I started looking at the way that I dealt with life. I got a lot of support. I got therapy, and I learned Reiki at that point, which was such a lifesaver for me. And I kind of piecemealed this recovery for myself. I piecemealed this way of healing to get myself to the point where I am right now, where I'm actually helping people.
Brilliant.
Yeah, and it's been a journey. It's been a long journey. I don't think it has to take quite as long as it took me. I didn't have me to guide me. I didn't have a Debbie. I didn't have a Marla.
You did the long term so you could do this for others, which I love, and that's usually the case with lots of people that are in the healing, have a healing practice and a coaching practice to help people, because they did all the groundwork. They did all the, they became the guinea pig over a period of time, and then how to kind of streamline that and really help people get to where they want to be. I love that you're doing that now in your life. So the emotional eating part of it, you realized, was the connection. It wasn't about the food, right? It was about what was going on emotionally in your life, that you were using food as something to rely on to help you get through something, or if you were sad, you went to food. Is that correct? Or how did that work for you?
Yes, I would say I went to food. I also went to control and dieting. So have a feeling, don't feel it, control something, right? And so it's like, oh, there's something going on with me and my boyfriend. It's like, oh, I'm feeling uncomfortable about this. So instead of like actually diving in and being with that would be like, okay, how can I control something? Oh, I can control my food. So this emotional eating is something that is so ingrained in us because, food does work. Food does calm us. Food does support us. It grounds us. We celebrate with food. We do all these things. And that's a wonderful thing.
Just going to say that. But we celebrate with foods that aren't necessarily good for us, but they make us feel good because they're part of the celebration. So sugary foods like cakes and candies are always parts of celebrations, birthday parties, weddings, any kind of holiday basically celebrates with food that is not good for us. So we equate that for when we're feeling bad. Well, if I go to this food, it always works to celebrate, so maybe that will make me feel better, when in turn it does exactly the opposite.
And the guilt around eating it can be just as bad. Mm-hmm. So we can eat the food and we can just move on with our life. And what I see with people, myself included, it's not necessarily that the food that I ate is going to be that detrimental to my health. What is detrimental to my health is the guilt, is the shame, is the upset that happens after I eat it, which is the repercussions of what now do I have to do in order to exercise this off or restrict this off or don't let anyone see my body. And that's what creates the insanity. That's what creates more of the cycle of the binging, more of the cycle of the emotional eating. So it's really working kind of in reverse engineering of being like, if we are going to have that thing, then we want to allow ourselves to have it with full awareness, full stepping in, full pleasure, and then move on with our lives, right? It's when we stop and we allow diet culture to say, you're bad, you ate that thing.
Yeah.
And
then you punish yourself.
It's deep about listening, right? We really want to be tuning into our body. We want to tune into our emotions. For some people, it's like, well, what does that even mean?
Yeah.
Right? What does it mean to listen to our body? What does it mean to tune in? And what that actually looks like is, and what I share in my book is becoming our own best friend, right? Is actually giving the body the space to communicate.
Yeah, and that's not easy to do. And I know that your book lays that out so beautifully to help you befriend yourself, to help you. I mean, the whole self-care space is diluted really with stuff that confuses people. But in this case, and it's always our relationship with food where I think it starts, because the other modalities in self-care are very important because they do help you want to treat your body better with what you put inside of it. But first, you have to find that way to love yourself, to have respect for who you are and your loveliness and greatness and the fact that you're even thriving in here. When you can appreciate that and not obsess about the little things that food can or can't do for you, then you can allow it to come full circle to help you.
Exactly. It's really all about intention, right? So when we look at the self-care world, like you said, the diluted, it's because it becomes one more thing on our to-do list. So it becomes this thing that, oh, I just got to check that off the list. Oh, that means I love myself, right? Where it's like sometimes not doing the self-care thing is actually the most loving thing to do. So you could look at my food right now, Debbie, and the food that I have on my plate most of the time is very healthy. I'm very healthy. And this food is because I love myself. And the intention is I eat this food because I love myself. Now, if you were to go back maybe 15 years, and I would have that same plate of food, that food that I had on my plate, the intention was, there's something wrong with me.
Because you're depriving yourself of the...
Yeah, it's deprivation. It's like, I gotta do this food because I gotta control it. I gotta make it better. I ate that bad thing the other day, right? So now I have to eat this, right? So the intention is always, what is our intention? Is our intention to be a friend to ourselves? And go take a nap when you had on your schedule that you were going to go for a run, when we tune in, the body says, no, I actually really need to rest, right? Or, those moments, early on in my recovery, I could remember being like, I really want to eat that desserty thing, but the way I'm feeling emotionally, if I eat that, I'm going to eat like 5 of them.
Yeah. And that's where, wait, I want to talk about your recovery. We're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back. I want to talk about your recovery, and I want to get into the book and how it breaks down. I know your story is in the book in the beginning, and it's compelling because I think we all can go, oh yeah, that's me. Oh, I did that. But I want to hear how you kind of hit rock bottom and what got you to recovery. And then let's break down the book and all the things and how you can help others in the way you helped yourself. But we'll be right back after a word from one of my sponsors. Cicera Olio de Oliva is an extra virgin olive oil company with a mission to provide high-quality, current-season Italian oils to families. They have partnered with 2 centuries-old family farms in the Tuscany region of Italy to grow, harvest, and bottle their amazing oils. Founded by a nutritionist who has a love of the land, sustainability, nutritious foods, and of course, Italy, they strive for a peak freshness and high nutritional content in every single bottle. All of their oils are current season, extra virgin olive oil, bringing you a true branch to bottle experience, and I know firsthand. So, for an offer, go to www.cesirolioliva.com and enter Balanced Life 10 for 10% off. I know you're going to love this healthy and delicious addition to just about any meal. All right, we're back. Talking about olive oil, talking about delicious food, talking about a food that's a superfood that helps you. Olive oil is one of the best things you could do for yourself if you don't have any allergies or anything. I highly recommend. Anyway, we are here with my guest, Marla Mervis-Hartmann, and it's Love Your Body, Love Yourself. She has her new book that just came out at the beginning of the month, Befriend Yourself. And if you're watching us, it's up on the screen right now. And in the show notes, an Amazon link will be there so you can go and order that book. Is it on Audible too, Marla?
Not yet. That's the next thing on my list.
Oh, cool.
So if you're listening to this in October 2024, no, it's not. But hopefully by early 2025, you will be able to do the audio, which I love. I love listening, and I love,
especially if you're me, who's in my car a lot,
Totally.
I listen to all my books that way. Not all, but I would say 90% of them get listened to. And it's nice also when the author is the one that is reading it.
Absolutely.
It's narrating it is really good. Before the break, we started to talk about your book and how your journey led to the writing of the book. But I want to talk about how you said that you were in treatment, and how did you hit rock bottom? What was rock bottom? What brought you to treatment, and then your journey on the way back up from there?
Right. So I did share one of the dark nights of the soul, which led to the other dark night of the soul, which was the light, right? So eating and eating and eating and having that epiphany of like, this is my life, right? And I think for a lot of people, you may feel that way, that lack of hope, like this is who I am and I will never feel better. And that's one of those moments, those critical moments where we can either choose to go back to the diet or we can choose another way. So it takes what it takes. For me, I went into the diet, and then I found that other rock bottom, which actually was the light. It was the moment where I realized, oh, I have a major issue here and I need to get real help. And so this took me on a very long journey of healing. And this took me into healing my relationship with sexuality, healing my relationship with how I was with my emotions, healing my relationship with how I talked to myself and the person I was. I was one of those self-help junkies that really thought that if I healed myself and I got rid of everything, if I got rid of all my ego stuff, then I'm worthy. And so I would just put myself down a lot. And that really got moved into how I ate and how I felt really did I feel unsafe in my body? In some ways. So I was born, like I said earlier, in a body that got a lot of attention. And I see that a lot. A lot of women who are in the bodies that maybe looks like ideal for some people, they're the ones that are struggling so much.
It's hard.
Right?
I have daughters, so I can tell you, and I have sisters. I have a lot of female energy around me.
I do too, Debbie.
And
all women in my world.
Yeah, same. And I have a granddaughter now. And my daughters were extremely, or are, I don't want to say were, even though they're in their late 30s, they're extremely beautiful, and they are dancers, so they've exercised their whole life. They got into that sort of eating. I had to undo a lot. Now they're much healthier. But when you dance, you're looking in the mirror all the time. You're looking and
I
you're
know
comparing
that was my
yourself.
story
Yeah.
too.
You're
Yeah.
comparing yourself to everybody else that's around you where you think you should be. And if you're not there, and so the whole starvation diet thing before the shows and all of that. But they got a lot of attention. And my oldest daughter craved it. It almost became a habit, I should say. I don't know what.
It's an addiction.
It's an addiction.
An obsession.
Because
it's an addiction.
When it's not there, you think, oh, I'm not enough. Something's wrong. What do I have to change? But not in a positive way. It's a negative way of looking at it to find the right change. And you shouldn't have to change a thing. It all should just happen because you are who you are, doing what you do because you love it, because you're passionate about it, and and like you said, you're finding the way to love yourself. Well, I've realized from the time she was born, really, people wanted to touch and pet her and be a part, like something would rub off on them. Well, what did she do? She absorbed that and became connected to her self-worth by having people say beautiful things about her. And if for any reason she didn't get that, or she looked in the mirror and didn't feel that, things would go down. And we've had to deal with things and getting help in certain ways, because all of her self-worth was around that. And I'm seeing a lot of that with my granddaughter right now, and I'm trying to curtail it. I'm with her a lot, but obviously not her parent. But people are saying and trying to hold her and meet her and touch her and right in front of all of us, oh my God, she's so beautiful, she's so perfect. Not great words. You want to hear it. There's something that puffs you up as the parents and grandparents, but there's also something very detrimental down the line, because I've already seen it with her mom. So I know, I hear you. I know what you're talking about. Those kinds of things can come to a head. They come to a head. So
yeah,
go ahead.
And just to say that, well, what can we do about that?
Mm-hmm.
Well, what we can do is we can be, when we're around children, we can talk to them in the way where we're not talking about their bodies. We're not talking about what they're wearing. We want to ask them questions about, what do you like to do? And what's your favorite things? And, talk about, wow, you have bright eyes. You seem very curious, right? So we want to get into conversations with little ones. It's so easy because they are so cute. They are so adorable,
I know.
right? And when we see that, we want to comment on it. So it's not like making yourself wrong. It's just stretching to do it a little bit differently.
I love that. That's great advice. And I think it's, I see it because I'm with her so much. Wherever I take her, that's not the lead. The lead is how she looks. And yes, how she acts. She's very friendly. If you have a dog, all bets are off. She'll go straight to you. But she doesn't have to, because everything comes to her with all of those compliments. But that is a great way to approach it. I love that. I wish everybody knew that. I'm seeing it all over again. It's kind of like, oops, deja vu, reset. And I saw what my older daughter started to depend on with how her body, how she had to keep that, and how competitive it became for her with all her dancer friends. And now she's a master yoga teacher, and, that yoga world, same thing. You're a yogi, it's difficult that people start comparing themselves. And
it really is. And that's something to look at, right? So it's one of the things I talk about in the book is the comparison. So we want to look at how we see the world. So I remember doing this talk with this college group, college sorority, and I was talking about how the comparison, how we compare ourselves to others, how we look out into the world and I used to do that so bad. Like, oh, am I the same weight as her? Is she bigger than me? What is she eating? Am I okay? Just constantly
so can
comparing.
Relate.
Comparing, and never makes us feel good. It makes us feel awful. And this one woman this young girl, she was like, wow, I never thought of that. She's like, that's the only way I see my life. I only view life through comparing myself to others. She didn't even know that there was a whole different filter that we can look at life through.
Because we're not taught that initially. I think that most of us do compare our life to others. It may not even be physical. It may be, what
Totally.
others have or how smart others are, but we always compare. And somehow our culture is, and I think this is worldwide, not just, here in America, but our culture is to compare ourselves to others. They have more than me. They look better than me. They're able to afford this and they can go here. And, and it can eat you up from the inside out, because I don't think we're trained to undo that from the get-go. Because
well, it's just not addressed, right?
Yes.
And so here we are, we're talking about it, so we're addressing it. So if you're listening to this and this is something that you do, it's something that you actually have control over to stop. So the first thing you want to do is notice, like, when are you doing that?
Mm-hmm.
And you can be like, wow, I'm doing that a lot. Or I just compared myself to my best friend, or I just compared to myself to, to my neighbor who I don't even want to be like, right? and just noticing what happens, and not just noticing it. That's kind of the first step, but notice what happens in your body when you do that. So what it often does, it creates stress, it creates chronic stress, and it tightens us up. It also puts us in this illusion that we're separate, that we're separate from others, that life isn't all one.
Mm-hmm.
So when we let go of comparison and we literally work on this on a regular basis, you are going to find that you have more energy. You're going to like yourself more. You're going to feel a lot better, because you're going to get in touch with the truth of who you are. Because a lot of this comparison, which is all running in the background, like I said, some of it isn't even what you want. It's just showing up as mind candy. And so when we begin to let that go, we get to connect to our true authentic voice that knows what we do want. And then we can look at these things where we might be in comparison, and we can begin to celebrate. Because when we're celebrating other people for having something, we're allowing that into our field. So if we're jealous, right, and we can know, like, wow, I'm jealous. Well, oh, wow, well, what does that mean? Oh, well, I may want some of that. Oh, well, let me see. Where do I have that in my life already? Oh, I want to create more. Oh, let me lean into this person and learn about them. Let me lean, what are they, and it's all coming from, instead of like, you have it, I don't.
Yeah, beating yourself
now
up.
We're opening ourselves up to, wow, what's the deeper intention here? How can I become my own best friend to create this experience?
And that's what your book helps people do. How does that break down? How does your book help people do that? Will you tell us?
So my book is not a do this, do that, do this, do that. Now you're healed, right? Like, it's not set up that way. How it's really set up is being shared stories, being shared my stories, my client stories. And like you had said, Debbie, like, some of these stories are just going to be like, oh gosh, do I relate, girl? Right? Because my story isn't this unique story that people don't understand. Unfortunately, so many people get my story. And the way I tell this story is from this inside out experience of, like, not just like, sit down and do this. No, I'm sharing with you my experience of how I took a moment of feeling less than, or I'm thinking of the moment with one of the moments with my family, and just like how every time I would come home to visit my family, I would just get, because I moved out early on in my 20s, and so every time I would come home to see my family, I would just want to eat and eat, right? And how over time I got more comfortable with my body, more comfortable with my food, more comfortable in how do I take care of myself, because family brings up so much, right? And so this book is really, my intention is for you to read it and embody what I'm sharing so that you get some big, I just was emailing someone before this, and she's like, "Oh my gosh, your book! I just can't even believe it. I just sent it to all my friends." And I said, "Well, what are you, what are you learning, or what's happening?" And she's like, "I don't know. It's like these jiffy pop moments in my
Oh,
brain
I
that just
love
goes,
that.
woo, woo."
I love that.
And
Yeah.
I love that. It's
Uh-huh.
these jiffy pop moments that light me up. And that's my intention for people, is to get this book into their body and be like, there's another way I can be with this.
I love that. I love it. And I think it can help you in so many, like, for instance, again, me being in my later years, I've been single for a long time. I'm in the dating scene. So your book, in reading it, I've been reading it, has helped me not compare myself and feel better about myself, because I compare myself to maybe somebody that's younger, and I'm not, I only attract, men that could be my father, or even other women my age that may had more plastic surgery that I've never had, those kinds of things, and the body thing, not so much. I've come to terms with that a long time ago, because I do take really good care of it. And for my age, I know for any age, actually, I know I'm doing well. But there are other things that put me out there. And every day we're faced with that in life. And that's what's so great about your book, is those moments that pop out that say, okay, I can relate to this. I should look at this differently. I can handle this differently than the negativity that you go down that rabbit hole. Because then, for someone like me, if you go down that rabbit hole, you'll just stop. You won't allow yourself to put yourself out there. You won't date,
Exactly.
because it would be too hurtful to, for any rejection that might come along. For anybody in any field, too, that you have to audition for, you have to go on a job interview for, or which I kind of think dating is always sort of a interview. When you're those first couple of dates, you're interviewing it's more like a job interview for life. All these little things that I found in your book help you, again, befriend yourself, so you realize you are complete and good and perfect just the way you are. And there is no such thing as perfect. There's always, that word drives me crazy, because that's what we comparing ourselves to, whatever the perfect image in our mind is. If we don't get there, then we're flawed, and there's no reason to keep moving forward in certain areas. And your book just makes it okay to keep moving forward. I love the approach that you take. It's a really upbeat, because your story, again, people can relate to. And then all the nuances of everything that you suggest is so wonderful for helping us get through those times where we don't feel like we're enough in any area. Is just, so valuable, I think.
Mm-hmm. I'm so glad that it's landed on you in that way. That's the intention. The intention is that it is the hug that we need. It's the hug that we need when we're not feeling okay about ourselves in whatever aspect of our lives. And, when I came up with this idea of befriending yourself, is when I looked back on my recovery and I looked at how I healed myself, and I realized, oh my gosh, I have been becoming my own best friend. I have been learning how to care for myself, because I am a great friend. Like I'm
I
a
want to be
loyal
your friend.
I'm a good friend. Yes, Debbie. I'm a good friend. I have amazing friends in my life. Like
I'm sure.
I was born into a family with two sisters who happen to be my best friends. I love my mom. I just have this. And so
You elude that. I can see it.
and I wasn't that for myself. So it was quite this contrast of like, wow, everyone's caring for me, but I'm not caring for myself. And when we have that contrast, or for some people, it's like, wow, people aren't really caring for me. Let me learn how to care for myself. Right. So it could be different for other
Yeah,
people.
that
And
you
I
look
think
on
that
the
that is,
outside. Yep.
it's a big part of the process. So if you are struggle with food or body image stuff, and you don't have to have like an awful eating disorder, you can just have some obsession. It's worth leaning into healing, because the impact on your life when you heal this is huge. It impacts everything. It impacts the way you see yourself. It impacts the way that you show up in your life. And so, we all come from um, wounding. We all have wounding. We have things that we weren't given as children. And what we get to do in our adult life is to learn where some of these woundings are come from, and then show up for ourselves the way that we wish someone else would have showed up for us.
Mm-hmm.
And so what ends up happening is, say you're in a family where your mother was talking about your body all the time, or you were being told that you weren't good enough. And then what happens is the parents go away, but the voice is still there.
Oh, big
And now
time.
you've taken on the job that you didn't like someone else doing to you. You take that on and you create that continual behavior. And by noticing that and being aware of that, you now get the opportunity to be to yourself the way you wish it had happened before. And that is power, and that's empowering, and that takes you out of the victimhood of, see, I didn't get what I wanted as a child. It's like, but you get the opportunity to love yourself, and only you know what you need.
Right.
Only we know. I can tell you what I need, but it's not maybe not hit that on that right level, that right wording, all of that. But to slow down and to acknowledge what I need and to give it to myself, whew, talk about healing from the inside out. Talk about healing. Talk about love. Talk about the possibility of what can happen when we slow down to do that with ourselves and for ourselves.
Can you
And I'll
give
just
us?
say,
Look, go ahead. Finish.
I'll just say that sometimes we need someone else to help us do that. Like we do need a Debbie or a Marla to help us go into these places
Exactly,
of
because it's hard to
wounding.
figure it out for yourself. What's one first step that someone can do who knows that they're kind of going down that rabbit hole and wants to undo it, wants to go in the reverse direction? What's the first step, you think? And I also want to talk about Reiki and how that helped you and how you help others with that.
Yeah, so I would say stop talking mean about to yourself. Stop the critical talk.
So when you hear it, what should one do to stop it? What would be the
Oh, it's here. Oh, that voice is here.
okay?
Oh,
Acknowledge it.
so
You
we want to acknowledge it, because when we acknowledge it, we aren't it.
mm-hmm.
So if I hear the voice and I'm like, oh, I'm doing the voice. Oh, the voice is telling me this. The truth, Marla, is witnessing this voice rather than I am that voice. There's something wrong with me. I am disgusting. I am this. I am this, rather than, oh, I have a voice inside my head that's telling me I'm disgusting. Well, that's actually not true. So then we can have a conversation with this. We can start to say, oh, what am I afraid of? Where is this coming from? Right? So we can actually engage with these really awful voices inside of our head
I
at
know
time,
they're
and get them on
debilitating.
board to calm down, right? And to be not so angry and not so upset,
Yeah,
right?
exactly. We're short on time, but I want to get to the Reiki because I know
Yeah,
that's
let's talk
part of
about
the
that.
healing. Let's talk about that for a minute. And then I want you to give all of the ways to reach you for people who are listening
Right.
before
Yeah.
they go to the show notes.
Yes. So I'll just give a really quick recap. Reiki is a spiritual practice. It's a healing modality. I learned it early on in my recovery, and I think it saved my butt. It is the energy of unconditional love. And when we're in the energy of unconditional love, when we can't access it for ourselves, when we call on this higher vibration of love, we can literally heal. We can heal, and we can unwind from a lot of the stress. Like if food is our coping mechanism, we can use Reiki as a way to calm ourselves down. So that it's been a very powerful process for me. I teach it, I do it with all my clients. It is a part of who I am. I've been doing it for over 20 years. And
Can people go to your YouTube channel? Do you have guided Reiki?
I have tons of Reiki healing videos on there,
Good.
from
Okay, that's what I thought.
PTSD to
Hmm.
binge eating. Go
Good.
on there, message me for a Reiki healing session. I do Akashic record readings, and I would love to stay connected with you. So please go, you see my Instagram, it has been up here. Ask me a question. Ask me, talk to me.
Assume people are listening and not watching. Can you go
Okay.
through how people can reach you, how they can get your book, and then we'll get some final words.
Yeah. So you can find my book on Amazon, Befriend Yourself, Finding Freedom with Food and Peace with Your Body. Please go there and get the Kindle or the hard copy. You can also find me at loveyourbodyloveyourself.com. There you're going to find a lot of resources. I have a Breaking the Cycle of Emotional Eating free course, which is it's free,
Wow.
but it has a whole lot of good stuff in there.
That's a great start.
Yeah, it's a really good start. And then my Instagram is Love Your Body, Love Yourself Always. And message me, be in touch with me. I'm obviously quite approachable.
I love it. I love it. I can't imagine. I mean, it just, all of my friends and family, everybody I know has had these issues around body image. And this is such a great way to approach it in a positive way that I just can't say enough about what you're doing for women and for people in general. Final words of wisdom, final thoughts to give the audience.
Thank you for listening. Thank you for being here and listening to this. If you're listening to the end of this, then you're really showing up for yourself. And I really want to acknowledge that. Really acknowledge yourself for allowing yourself to do things a little differently. Bring in the idea that you don't have to beat yourself up in order to have the body that you want. You don't have to beat yourself up with food, that there is another way of being that is actually going to work. It actually is going to give you the life that you really want. So I invite you to lean into that.
I love it. So you heard it. Go to the show notes for all the details so you can tap into and talk with Marla and get rid of that negative stuff. Go to the positivity. It's going to create longevity. I'm telling you, it's a big hack for longevity. So again, Marla, I want to thank you for your time, your expertise, and your passion. And you, the audience, I want to thank you too. And remember, you need to keep going out and finding those conversations that connect to a healthier you. All right, everybody, see you soon. Thank you. Thank you, Marla.